Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast, a mix of both solo episodes and expert interviews. Our ideal listener is an early career, ambitious, and passionate online language services provider. She is committed to professional growth and achieving success in the fiercely competitive translation and interpreting industry. She balances multiple responsibilities with resourcefulness, values mentorship, is open to learning, and investing in her professional development journey. She embraces technology and seeks to optimize workflow, eager to connect with like-minded peers and build out her professional network. She is determined to overcome challenges and become a sought-after freelance translator. And here's your host, medical translator and translator business mentor, Jason Willis-Lee.
And welcome to another episode of How to Find More Direct Clients, a podcast hosted by myself, Jason Willis-Lee. This is the podcast that makes digital marketing easier and more fun using the perfect combo and just the right dose of business strategy and tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis-Lee. I'm a digital marketing enthusiast and specialist. And today I'm so thrilled to welcome my special guest. His name is Nicky Billou. He's a highly experienced thought leader, and he brings a very, very unique perspective on thought leadership and entrepreneurship to our talk today. Nicky, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Jason, it's an honor to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Thank you so much for accepting the invite. Just tell us a bit about yourself, first of all. Can you tell us a bit about your personal and your business journey in business ownership and your unique vision? How do you think the industry looks at the moment?
Well, thanks for the question. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he and my mom, they got together, they made a plan, and they whisked me and my two brothers out of Iran. And eventually we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Off camera, you asked me if my background was Greek. It's not, but I actually got to live in Greece for the first 2 years when we left Iran in Athens, in an area of Greece called Holargos, and we went to school there, which was quite the unique journey. Yeah. And at the time, you know, being a kid, I didn't want to leave my home or my friends. I'm sure you can appreciate that. Yeah. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for me and my two brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny and they created a legacy of freedom for us. I believe, Jason, inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet wants to march to the tune of their own drummer. They want to chart their own course. They want to create their own glorious future. And if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be a fan of freedoms, because without freedom, you can't have the ability to express your ideas, free expression, and come up with glorious ways of serving. And without that, you can't have free enterprise, which allows you to take those ideas and put them into practical use to make money. And entrepreneurship relies on freedom, free expression, and free enterprise. So I've become this champion for freedom. I started to read when I was in my early 20s, the great authors and champions of freedom. You may have heard of Ayn Rand and her books, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. And there's Friedrich Hayek, who wrote The Road to Serfdom, and Milton and Rose Friedman, who wrote the books Free to Choose in Capitalism and Freedom. So I just immersed myself into all of that. And I just became somebody who thought, you know, entrepreneurs are society's great people. And these are the folks that go out there with big dreams and big visions. And because they've got the courage to try to make them come alive, they lift the rest of us in the human race forward. You think about this, every great thing in the world happens because of entrepreneurship. Capitalism is the solution. Socialism is the problem, and entrepreneurships have the solutions to the problems that constantly come at the human race. Do you agree with this, Jason? I believe that you do. And it's very important.
I remember that Margaret Thatcher was a big fan of Hayek. I remember her carrying around a book of Hayek, and she would just pull this out in meetings and convince other leaders about the precepts of Hayek. So that was an interesting reference. Nicky, what is a thought leader? Why do we care about thought leadership? All my audience are entrepreneurs, although I prefer the term solopreneur or even youpreneur, that is a single one man band or one woman band. We probably have more ladies listening than men. Amazing, women are fantastic business leaders. What is thought leadership, and why should we care about that?
That's a great question. Before I answer that, let me finish the thought that I was going to do after
Sure.
when I spoke.
Sure, absolutely.
So here's what happened. My father was an entrepreneur himself, right? And so my mother was an entrepreneur with him as well, entrepreneurial to say the least. And my father was the greatest man that I've ever known, because he would come around and tell me every day, son, life is not about money, it's about people. And I remember being 8 years old, and he said, even business, son, isn't about money, it's about people. And I was startled by that statement. I said, Dad, but come on, without money you can't do business. And he said, that's true, son. But without people, there's no need for money, because all business is solving problems for people for profit.
Mm.
You solve acute problems for amazing people and an awesome profit. I mean, the wonderful women that listen to your program, the solopreneurs, the youpreneurs, these are folks who solve problems for people and they make a profit out of it. And I just saw that and I go, wow, this is amazing. And Dad would also come around and say to me, son, believe in people. And I go, okay, Dad. And he said, remember, son, that woman sitting in front of you, she's someone's daughter. She's someone's wife. She's someone's sister. She's a hero to somebody, right? Maybe a man just like you disappointed her in business. It's your job to restore her faith in humanity. And remember, son, everyone needs someone to believe in them. You, me, everybody. There are days when our belief in ourselves wobbles. We don't think we're good enough. We don't think we can make it. Imposter syndrome is something everyone in the youpreneur and solopreneur space suffers from, almost to the point of being paralyzed by it. And what gets them out of it is when they have somebody who sees them and sees their greatness and says, I see you, I believe in you. That little spark of belief can turn into a roaring fire, and then they're off into the races, right? And I went into business as an entrepreneur because I wanted to help these solopreneurs and youpreneurs. And this is a nice segue to thought leadership. You ask, well, what is thought leadership? Why does it matter? Most of the people who get into the solopreneur, youpreneur space get into it because they got big hearts and they want to help people. And I know this is you, Jason. I know this is your listener. This is who they are. They want to help people. The challenge for them is, well, they don't have a business background. They aren't people who were taught, all the rudimentary and sophisticated aspects of running a business, and in particular, sales and marketing. The idea of being a salesperson, one of those pushy people who reeks of commission breath, is horrifying to the average solopreneur and youpreneur, especially the ladies amongst us, right? But here's the problem with that if you are not somebody who understands how to sell and market effectively, you are going to lose. That good person who could use your help, well, they won't get your help because you won't go after the business with them. Yeah. You won't get the business, so obviously your business suffers. And then some charlatan marketer, some unscrupulous individual will come in and swoop that business, but they don't care if they deliver or they don't deliver. All they want's the money. And what happens? Jason, the sum total of goodness in the world goes down. So when I got into business, I thought to myself, I know how to help these people. What is going to help these people? Thought leadership. Thought leadership. What's thought leadership, man? Thought leadership is really, really simple. Okay? Draw a contrast between someone who's good at something, a true expert, and someone who's known for being good at something, which is a thought leader. An expert's someone who knows something. A thought leader's someone who's known for knowing something. Another way to put it is an expert's a cover band. Nobody knows the name of the cover band, but a thought leader plays original music. Everybody knows the band that played the original music, right? And that really, at the end of the day, is what we started to teach people. And when people saw this, right, they saw that they could be seen as the go-to authority in their space. They could be seen as somebody with a valuable personal brand that had other people who needed that sort of help going, I want to talk to you. Man, that, my friend, that was a game changer for a lot of these people. And then through this process, we started to see that they needed to learn how to be effective at having sales conversations. And because of their fear around sales, they wouldn't have these sales conversations. They tried to post or go on podcasts or have their own show, anything but actually have a sales conversation with a real person. But here's a problem with that, Jason. When you're selling a high ticket product in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, people are not going to buy just because you post a lot of good stuff online. People are not going to buy just because you have a podcast. Those things can help them vet you, but they're not going to buy for that reason. They need a conversation with a real human being. So why is that important, Jason? It's important because you've got to embrace that. You can't look at sales as a bad thing. You've got to look at sales as a good thing. And you got to reframe the word sales if that's what's giving you a hang up. So I told people, don't look at it as selling, look at it as serving. Jason, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold, right? But don't you love being served by a caring human being? Of course you do. We all do. Every single person that's in business, as a solopreneur, as a youpreneur, as a servant, they are serving people. And if they think about that person rather than themselves, if the idea in their head isn't, I hope they like me, I hope they're going to do business with me, what if they don't like me? All that crazy stuff, which paralyzes people from speaking to others. And instead they go, God, I hope that this person is somebody that my skill set is suited to serve. I am really curious about what exactly it is that's bothering them, that's causing them angst. What is it that's stopping them from having the ability to conduct their business in a way that makes them the most money? That's stopping them from the ability to have perfect health or mental health or have excellent relationships or the ability to work well with people in a business setting. Whatever it is that is the itch that those people are looking to scratch, the question in your mind and the thought in your mind is, I'm here to serve. I want to get to know this person. I want to understand if I am the right person to be of service to them. And just teaching this to people in the youpreneur, solopreneur space, I'm telling you, this allowed people to quadruple, centuple, tenfold their income because they stopped putting the attention on them and they started putting the attention where it belonged, on the customer. So that's step number one. Take the attention off of you and put the attention where it properly belongs, on the other person.
Yeah, I mean, the specific problem my audience is solving is localization of documents, websites, whatever it is, to a wider audience. So that's the service provision side of things for translators. So everyone, it might be a medical translation, it might be legal translation, and there are interpreters that obviously facilitate communication within. That's the problem.
No, that's the service. That's the service.
Yeah, that's the service.
No, that's it. No, we want to draw a distinction between the service and the problem. What is the problem the customer has? Why do they need the medical translator?
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, Jason, why would they need the medical translator?
So they need the medical translator because they don't have the language themselves. So they need the language expertise. Let's say it's between Spanish and English. Let's say there's a Spanish patient who has a report done in Spain. She needs a second opinion in America or the UK. Well, she needs to take documentation in English to doctors in those countries. So that's the problem is literally communication. Exactly.
Communication.
Yeah.
So and the precision of that translation is very important, right? If someone gets it wrong, I mean, they could get wrong advice. They could potentially compromise or kill a patient, correct?
Accuracy is paramount to medical translation.
Paramount.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, a Google Translator ain't going to cut it, right? You need somebody who can be 100% accurate. Well, so you see, this is a very powerful place for your audience to be able to speak to the problem. And if a member of your audience came to us and said, hey, how do I be seen as a thought leader in my space? The first thought I'd go is, okay, I'd say, who are your main clients? And let's say we made a list of who all their main clients was. And then I'd say, who are the clients that really you've gotten amazing results for? They love you. They come back to you again and again. They make a list of those. Who are the clients you enjoy working with? They go, okay. And who are the clients that are easy to transact with, i.e. doing business with them is easy. They pay your fee. They don't drag out the payment terms, blah, 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 right? And once we see where all three of those circles intersect, that's your ideal client, right? And then we go and we tell them, look, if accuracy is your superpower, then you want to be positioning yourself as the most accurate translator in this field from Spanish to English in the medical field in the world. So when people think, hey, listen, I need a Spanish-English medical translator, they go, it's Juanita Colon. She's the one. She's the only one you should be going after because she's the one with the reputation for that. And the process of building that reputation and being seen as that, that's the process of developing your thought leadership. Make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about personal branding. So how can we as freelance translators or interpreters or copywriters become a branded authority so that people come to us and we have a waiting list of clients? How can we build demand rather than focusing on supply? How can we build demand as if it's a busy summer's day and there's a long queue at the ice cream truck? That's demand. You know, a boy in that queue asking for a discount, 2 flakes for one, he's not going to get it because there's a bunch of people waiting to get their ice cream. How do we build demand, a demand focus mindset, and get away from supply? Because too many people, I think, are focused on supply.
That's a great question. So I'm going to answer it by giving you the story of one of my clients. And this is a woman who was a functional medicine doctor. Okay. So she was already quite successful. And she came to me because she had a big why. You see, her father was dying of glioblastoma, brain cancer. And he was her hero. And he was a very successful entrepreneur. And she wanted to honor him by becoming a successful entrepreneur herself. I mean, she did okay. She made 6 figures, but she wanted to be a 7-figure entrepreneur like he'd been. A few months later, he actually sadly passed away. And so her why became even more important to her because she really wanted to honor him and his memory in this fashion. So we had a meeting with her, and she said to us, how do I be seen as the authority here? And I asked her a few questions. I said, well, tell me a little bit about your practice, who you help, what you do. And she said, well, you know, I deal with people's health, and honestly, I deal with a variety of different issues, and I can really help pretty much anybody with any health problem. And the first thought that came into my head when I heard that was, that's your problem. You sound like everybody else. And I said, okay, let's go through this exercise that I talked to you about. You know, who's the client that you've gotten the best results for? Who's the client that you've enjoyed working with the most? Who are the clients that you've had the easiest time transacting with? So when we went through that exercise, it became clear that her ideal clients were women who were over 45, married, happily married with children, and successful in their careers. Okay. And there was only one problem that they faced. They didn't feel young and sexy and beautiful anymore. And Jason, I'm not sure, but I've heard that women care about those things. I'm not sure if that's actually true, right? But anyways, so she came to us and she said, I know how to help these women. I said, you do? She said, yeah. She said, look, getting older is inevitable. That number is going to go up every year. I go, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
She said, but, you know, aging is not inevitable. You can look and feel just as beautiful and healthy and vibrant in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s and 70s as you did in your 20s, 30s, 40s, early 40s. And I'm like, really? She said, yep. And I said, you can deliver on this. She says, I've delivered on this hundreds of times. So we started to create a persona for her around being the functional medicine doc that would make you young and beautiful again. And we called the program Get Your Sexy Back. And it was a good name. It was a really, really good name. And she started to approach all of her past clients initially. And brother, before you knew it, within a year, she doubled her business. Within another year, she doubled it again. And within another year, she doubled it again. In a 3-year period, she went from 6-figure years to 6-figure months. And that, my friend, is the power of creating a very powerful personal brand. So if you try to be all things to all people, as a youpreneur, that is the kiss of death to your business. That's the kiss of being in the sea of sameness. What you have to do is you have to figure out what about what you do is unique And what about what you do is really valuable to clients? And there's a process to do that, like the one that I described. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can orient all your communication, all your messaging, all your videos, all your podcast appearances, a podcast of your own, a book, a white paper toward that. And as soon as you do that, my friend, that's when you're golden.
Could you tell us the specialty of your client? What was her medical specialty?
Well, she's a functional medicine doctor, a doctor of natural medicine.
Natural medicine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do one more question and then go into the final five. Why does freedom and free enterprise why should it matter so much to us as online language service providers? Remember those, we're speaking to translators,
Sure.
interpreters, copywriters. Why does freedom and free enterprise matter so much? You said that before, socialism is a problem, capitalism is a solution. Why is freedom? I love freedom. I love the freedom that my freelance work style gives me. I'm my own boss. I have been for the last 19 years, ever since I went self-employed, 2005. Haven't looked back. For me, it's worked because I had a very good niche. You talked about niching down, finding that specific, unique value proposition, which we talk about all the time in personal branding. I have that, which is medicine. I started life as training as a doctor, so I was lucky to go into that field fairly smoothly, or I found it easy to get into that field. What is our big why? I know this is there's an entrepreneur who talks about the big why. I forget his name now. Simon
Sinek.
Simon Sinek. There we go. Exactly. Simon Sinek, the big why. Know your big why. For me, it's the freedom that I get from, I couldn't imagine working for someone else now because my skill set is just so geared towards self-employment, entrepreneurship. But why is freedom so important, or should it be important to my audience who we're serving and helping uplift themselves through personal branding and niching?
Well, that's a fantastic question, but I think the very description of the type of work you do and they do has a clue as to why it's important. You're freelancers. You, by nature, want to be free to create a life of your own design. You don't want to be under the thumb of a corporate organization or employer. And if you think about it, the only way you're going to get to continue to do what you do is if there's a mass of people that agree with you and believe in what you believe. So to me, standing up for freedom and helping to spread the message of freedom to more and more people and helping more people be successful is how we preserve freedom. I've got this vision, #billion millionaires. I want 1 billion millionaires around the world, because if that happens, the constituency for freedom and for free enterprise will be huge. And that's going to ensure that freedom survives and freedom thrives over the years. And if you're in business, if you're a freelancer and you don't believe in freedom and you believe in socialism and you believe the government should be there to tell people what to do, how to do it, how to think, what to say, you're cutting your own throat. Don't be crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. Go and read and learn. You know, I've got a podcast of my own. I talk about these types of issues along with business issues. You can come listen to me. You can come read some of the books I've written. I've written a couple of political books. I haven't just written business books. And I delve into these issues. But there's tons of great thinkers. I think Ayn Rand and her works, especially her magisterial novels like We the Living, Anthem, The Fountainhead, and Atlas Shrugged, are something that every person in business, every freedom lover ought to read. And I think you ought to read freedom-oriented thinkers from the past, people like Friedrich Hayek, people like Milton Friedman, people like Murray Rothbard, but also thinkers from the modern era. Jordan Peterson is someone who really is a champion for freedom and whose works ought to be read and appreciated. And I believe that if you truly want a business that's going to thrive, you got to be a freedom lover. You've got to be somebody who cares about this. You know, 2 weeks ago, I was in Florida, and I was at a conference called The Vault, put on by Patrick Bet David. You know, like me, he's an Iranian Assyrian Christian, but he's got a huge brand. He was in insurance. He had 6,000 people there. And that entire conference spoke strongly about the power of freedom, the siren call of freedom, and how that really inspires everybody to go into business and to make a life less ordinary, a life that they've always dreamed of. You know, Henry David Thoreau said that most men and women lead lives of quiet desperation, right? And that's the truth. By being a youpreneur, a solopreneur, a freelancer, already you've broken out of living and leading a life of quiet desperation. Make sure that you understand how this is possible for you, and that you be one of those voices that speaks powerfully and strongly for freedom, and that you're involved in the community at a local level, at a regional level, and at a national level to promote freedom-oriented policies and freedom-oriented politicians. Because if you say, nah, I don't want to be bothered with that, then the dark forces of socialism are going to step in and fill that void. And believe me, they're going to take all your freedoms away, because that's what they stand for. That's all they care about, is they want to be in control. Don't let them be in control. You be in control.
We're going to get references to those books in the show notes for sure. All right, let's move into the final five. We ask all our questions these, just a quick, snappy answer. What's the best business advice you've given someone? Maybe that client you mentioned or another client. What's the best business advice you've given?
The best business advice I've given someone was to narrow their focus and identify their zone of genius. And whenever my clients have done that, honestly, Jason, they've made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars more. Someone in your position as a freelancer, you know, who's making maybe a nice, good six-figure income, by truly understanding and appreciating that, and adding their expertise and thought leadership at a way higher level, okay? Because there's thought leadership down here and there's thought leadership over here. You could in 3 years add 500,000 to €1,000,000 a year to your business by doing that. 3 years from today, if you decided to say, Nicky, okay, show me how to do this, you'd come back to me and say, oh my God, I'm making €1,000,000 a year more. And that's powerful and important.
So for my I'm not at six figures. I'm just under six figures, but most of my listeners would be at the mid five figure level. They're gearing for the mid five figure level. That's the kind
So
of
for them, the first place to go to is hit that low six figures, and then once you hit six figures, you should want to get to $250,000. That's the way that business works. You want to get into business, you want to get to your first six figures, you want to get to your first $250,000, first $500,000, first $1 million. If that's a progression you see. And there's no reason why someone like a Jason Willis-Lee should not be able to be a mid six figure to seven figure a year man with your level of expertise in 19 years in business. All it means is that you haven't been shown a system and a way to systematize your thought leadership that'll allow for that kind of money to come in.
What's the best productivity tip or tool you can give us? How do you work on your own productivity, your personal, your business productivity?
So for me, it's early in the morning, and usually at this time I'm in the gym. And when you and I are done, I'm going to the gym to work out. Right. And the best thing I can tell everybody is start every day by moving your body, exercising, pushing it hard, because it'll clear your mind and it'll allow you to work better and faster.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Best investment you've ever made? Best investment?
Best investment I've ever made is in my own growth and development. A year and a half ago, I was 227 pounds overweight, and I decided to hire somebody to help me lose weight, and I did. I lost 60 pounds. I went down to 167, and I'm 57 years old, and I entered a bodybuilding competition with men 20 years younger than me, and I came in third place, but I've got energy like I did 20 years ago. I look and feel great, and my confidence has shot through the roof. So I got to say, if you're listening to this, invest in yourself, invest in your own health, invest in your business, invest in your ability to be a better business person so you can grow your business.
What's the final key takeaway you have for our audience? Given the profile, I've given you the income profile, I've given you some of the niches that my audience work in. What's your key takeaway? Let's say they're scaling from mid or low 5 figures to mid 5 figures, that first step, just to make it easy?
Well, from that point of view, what you need to do is you need to just call everyone in your warm network. Everybody is thinking that, the first thing to do is just start posting. No, that's not going to do nothing for you. Call everybody you know, let them know what you're doing, and ask them if either they or someone in their network could use your services. Pound the pavement, pound it hard. And if you do that, in your first 6 months, you should get yourself from 0 to mid 5 figures. And if you keep doing that, you should be able to get yourself to 6 figures or close to 6 figures. Once you've done that, there's other strategies you can take. So I've got this new book out. It's called Get Booked and Get Paid: How to Generate 6 Figures Plus a Year Through Podcast Guesting. It's something I've done myself. I've generated over $410,000 by being a guest on other people's podcasts 5 hours a week. And I say, pick up a copy of this book, read it, and learn about this. But this is your second step. Your first step is call your warm network.
Where can my listeners connect with you, Nicky? Where's the best platform to get to know you better, connect with you?
I'm the only Nicky Billou in the world. So wherever you go on social media, if you type in @Nicky Billou, NickYBillou, you'll find me. You can connect with me there. If you're a reader, and you should be a reader, if you're in business for yourself, go to my Amazon page and pick up a few of my business books, because they're going to be very helpful to you to help you get the right mindset to win, and to give you some practical tips and tools on how to generate leads today.
That's very helpful, not having anyone else with the same name. I like that. I think I'm the only Jason Willisley as well. All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and talking to me. Let's wrap it up for this episode of How to Find More Direct Clients. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the always evolving landscape of language and digital marketing. Until next time, stay on your game, and don't forget to future-proof your career in the era of AI. Bye from me, your host, Jason Willisley, and thank you very much again to my special guest, Nicky Billou. Bye for now.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason is a big Indiana Jones fan. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.